It's usually a given that if a television show is a massive success, its story will keep going in the years to come. Their viewers are enticed to see how its characters develop and how their respective arcs progress. However, when a story reaches the point of a possible conclusion, the most logical solution would be to end it there, right? Sadly, that is not always the case. Television producers typically do not see things in terms of storytelling, but in dollar signs, because, money makes the world go round. If they see a property that is extremely lucrative, they will milk it dry and keep doing so to the point of it being a shell of its former self. Unfortunately, quite a few shows have fallen victim to this trend, and some are still going whether we want it to or not. This raises two questions here. 1. How do we know a show is overstaying its welcome? And 2. When is it about time for it to end? To answer these two questions, we are going to be looking at some shows, see when they started to decline in quality, when they should have ended, and see what they look like now if they are still going. To start, let's take a look at a show that is the poster child for being milked dry, shark jumped, and is now basically a withered husk of what it once was. Of course, I will be starting off with The Simpsons and its many imitators, such as Family Guy. Sorry, not making a jab at One Piece like I always do. Maybe next time though, because that's an example all in itself.
I'm gonna be the king of the pirates! You hear me?
Yeah, probably not in our lifetimes, though, considering how long the show has been going. It's no argument that The Simpsons is a massive pop culture phenomenon and has been since the Springfield family made their debut on The Tracy Ullman Show in 1987. This series has been providing social commentary in a comedic fashion for over 30 years and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. In the earlier years of the show, the writing and commentary were on point, the characters were developing nicely, and the comedy would have you splitting your sides with every joke. Matter of fact, I still laugh like a hyena whenever I see Bart's April Fool's prank.
That sounded like an explosion at the old Simpson place.
Whenever they would shake up the status quo, it would be done tastefully for character development and world building instead of for shock value like it does now. However, around its 10th year on the air, things started to go really downhill. The characters slowly regressed into one-dimensional caricatures of themselves, the humor became very hit and miss, and the commentary became downright offensive at times. Matter of fact, there were 2 episodes where the jokes angered other countries, Blame It on Lisa and 30 Minutes Over Tokyo. The latter angered the Japanese government so much that it was banned in the country and is never aired there to this day, not even on DVD releases. The characters would lose all sense of development and characterization, essentially throwing their previous arcs out the window and giving them a clean slate every episode. I understand this was to make the series more accessible to new viewers, but it also caused plots to become incredibly formulaic without any sense of overall progression. Nowadays, the series has become incredibly stagnant, the characters are a hollow shell of their former selves, the comedy is horrendous, becoming dated as soon as the episode airs. A similar situation is happening with quite a few of The Simpsons' contemporaries, most notably Family Guy. While Family Guy has not been on the air as long as The Simpsons has, it still faces a lot of the same problems in its current incarnation and more. The writing, while hilarious and profound at first, has regressed into episodes that rely more on shock humor and random cutaway gags that serve more to pad out the plot, masking the lack thereof instead of telling a compelling story. The humor has regressed into something that would appeal only to immature children, with the characters going from somewhat relatable to extremely unlikable.
You are the worst person I know. You constantly hit on your best friend's wife. The man pays for your food and rescued you from certain death, and this is how you repay him?
I honestly think both should have quit while they were ahead, when the humor was still fresh and on point. The Simpsons should not have survived as long as it did, certainly for not over 30 seasons, and honestly should have ended around the time of the movie, since afterwards was when it hit rock bottom. In the case of Family Guy, it should have stayed canceled after that occurred in 2002, as everything started going downhill after it came back, reaching an all-time low from season 9 onward. It's gotten so bad that even the characters in the show themselves have made jabs at the decline in quality. When it was revived in 2005, the show felt drastically different compared to its initial trilogy of seasons, seeming like a different show entirely as well. Like The Simpsons, the characters in writing slowly descended into one-dimensional archetypes of their former selves. It almost seems like the writers of both shows have simply run out of ideas and are scraping the bottom of the barrel for new episode plots. They don't know what to do with these shows aside from appeasing their fan bases and the network executives, even if it means sacrificing quality for quantity. I don't see either of them recovering, especially now that they're owned by Disney, which is a company that is notorious for milking every drop out of their franchises, even if they're already squeezed dry. A show that is more episodic is easier to pump life into since it doesn't have any sort of endgame and is easy for new viewers to jump into at any point in time. This is why shows such as the two aforementioned, SpongeBob SquarePants, South Park, and series that have ended like 2.5 Men and The Big Bang Theory overstayed their welcome at some point. Speaking of Big Bang, I think when it introduced a spin-off in the form of young Sheldon, I definitely knew it was time for the franchise to take a bow. By the time it started, the characters' arcs in the main show were pretty much wrapped up, and you couldn't do much more with them, aside from poor Raj, who was once again pushed to the wayside, bless his heart. While I appreciated having one more season to tie up as many loose ends as possible, I honestly think it should have ended after season 11 with Sheldon and Amy's wedding. The Victory Lap season was absolutely unnecessary and seemed more like a filler arc since it really didn't add much to the narrative. Similar to a previous show Big Bang's producer Chuck Lorre worked on, Roseanne. The farewell season of Roseanne's original run felt like an entirely different show. It essentially ditched the series' beloved premise and really shook up its status quo by having Rosie win the lottery. Thank God that final episode pretty much retconned this season. Let this be a lesson to writers and producers everywhere. If the writing of a show starts to decline and it feels like you're relying more on running gags than the actual plot to carry an episode, then maybe it's time to hit the brakes and quit while you're ahead. You don't need to milk anything dry, and leave something there to keep the audiences coming back for years to come. Also, don't be like Chuck Lorre and do victory laps either, since those are honestly a waste of time and money. Now, what are some shows that you think overstayed their welcome, and if they ended, at what point do you think they should have wrapped things up? If it's still ongoing, what season do you think it started going downhill? Feel free to let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, please be sure to give a thumbs up, press that red subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell down below for future videos. I will catch you all next time. Like seriously, what was he thinking with that final season of Roseanne?